Welcome everyone, I am the Depressed Dealer and this is Langrisser Mobile. So this month I wasn't really planning on doing anything because it was supposed to be sort of an off month with the Build banner, but they decided to give us a bunch of stuff all at once. So we have the Build banner, we got Wet Ham, and we have Mary Andel and Werner banners to deal with. There's also a bunch of stuff with, there's 4 new exclusive weapons or items. Sorry. So there's Veiled Enchantress, Light Blade, and Guardian Oath, as well as, which I've already purchased, Holy Flail. Holy Flail's for Marielle. Pretty much makes it so she's a bit more flexible with her healing role. Because it used to be, if you use any of her like healing stuff before she attacks, it kind of messes with her cooldowns. But with Holy Flail, while she has Commandment active, all of her skill cooldowns get reduced by 1, which is really helpful after using a skill. And then when she doesn't have it, she actually does decreased hero damage. So it's not too bad. Offense-wise, it's maybe not as good as Mjolnir and things like that, but for the flexibility, I think it's a pretty good upgrade slash side grade for Marielle. Guardian Oath is for Night of Mystery. For those who still use her, it's a good upgrade. It gives her more flexibility as far as troop choices, and without sacrificing her usual mobility. And even with her this extra fixed damage actually applies before Last Rites can proc. So it actually works on AoEs as well, so it's pretty helpful for her. Light Blade is for Rosalia. The only thing that's really special about this is the fact it can give you a little extra mobility when you're near a Sword of Protection, so you don't have to worry so much about terrain, because that's probably the one thing that really messes with Rosalia is terrain, because unlike a lot of the recent characters that are either flyers or have terrain negation, Rosalia is kind of just stuck whenever there's a lot of swamp and things like that. Veiled Enchantress is for Pestier. It's a raw upgrade for her for the most part. It gives her some additional mobility, which she desperately needs. And let's see, and she can get her her fancy weary debuffs stacked a bit faster, which is always helpful for her. Supposedly, Patsier is actually really good for a number of PvE things, such as Ancient Beckoning and things like that. Mainly because all monsters are classified as non-female. So she ends up just getting a lot of upgrades in that case. Also, her unique debuff probably helps with Fenrir. Anyway, the other new thing is we do have a new Covenant. I believe this is technically Freya, but since there's already a Freya character, they named her Frigg. Her entire gimmick is kind of a mixture of buffing, AoE damage, things like that, and her stats that she provides tends to favor intelligence. So once she gets up and running, she'll actually be kind of good, since I tend to use a lot of casters. Also, prior to actually starting a Apex match, you can actually choose which Covenant. So if you happen to get a banned pick where you're very heavy in physical damage, you might want to go ahead and stick with Thor here. Otherwise, you can always use Frigg. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. There's a ton of awakenings I also need to do, but I will worry about that in a bit. The store, of course, has a bunch of fancy items that help kind of get you caught up, since there's a bunch of stuff to deal with in this particular update. Oh, new troops. I've already taken care of most of them, thankfully. We got the Sandsea Mercenary, which is pretty much a raw upgrade for anyone that actually uses infantry troops. Lancer training. We got State Guards, which are pretty much a flat upgrade compared to Amazon Champions. And a lot of characters that can use them are pretty helpful. They also are a really good hard counter against anyone that tends to charge, such as cavalry and things like that. We also got Dark Elves. Or sorry, Forest Night Elves. Which are sort of a side grade compared to Faceless. And most of the characters that can use Forest Night Elves can use Faceless. I think technically Forest Night Elves have a little bit more damage. They also do have First Strike if you happen to be in Forest Terrain. And then the last one is Fighting Monk, which, as far as the description I heard from some people, it's essentially an upgrade for bishops. I don't really use bishops. People that usually use bishops usually use them for the extra healing and things like that. And Fighting Monk just kind of gets you that extra healing without, while still making you reasonably tanky. At least as tanky as a holy healer can be. But that's about it. So, also some of the benefits that for Fighting Monk only really applies if your hero happens to be holy. And since most of my healers are mages now, Fighting Monk is not as useful for me. Anyway, enough of that. Let's suffer. God, it's taking a while just to load because there's so many. All right, so we got Moist Chicken here. So this is a kind of a exclusive banner. Once this banner is done, which is 35 days, this character does not get added to the usual pool of heroes. So once this banner's gone, that is that's it for dripping beef here. So if you do want to get him, this is your only chance. Pretty much anyone that's not playing by some restriction, like a certain faction or all female, like I do, are going to get this character, especially if you happen to be playing Apex. This character is pretty broken. He's not undefeatable. I've definitely seen matches where he gets kind of wrecked, but for the most part, he's pretty dangerous. He's usually sent out as a flyer. He has a move again and an act again in his kit. He has an AoE that does heal negation, and then he has a sword soul like attack that instead of doing heal negation, it does what was it called? It does the curse, which reverses any healing taken, which is pretty dangerous for tanks because usually tanks go with blood packs so they can resist the anti-heal, but Wet Ham here can get around that by just using his unique sword soul thing. And I'm pretty sure it can't be dispelled either, so it's just 2 rounds of your tank being utterly screwed. I think the only other character that could do this with a single target strike that does any reasonable damage is Sonya. But Sonya's usual drawback is she's pretty much a glass cannon. Wet Ham is actually reasonably tanky, especially once he gets his sword out, which is usually what he's going to throw out in the first place. His sword kind of gives a pseudo buff to all Darkness faction, as well as if there's based off the number of people around the sword, he gets a bunch of damage reduction. So he's pretty brutal. More than likely, he's kind of my new Ares, where most people are just going to ban him. Yeah, all the matches I saw when he was initially introduced was just brutal. Him coming early, he should have been coming next month along with the Traveler's Light banner. At least that's how how the schedule was supposed to be, at least as far as like predictions. So being pushed up a month definitely messes with a lot of things, especially Apex. New season of Apex is coming in about a week, and I was kind of looking forward to having at least a month of not dealing with this guy. But unfortunately, I'm probably just going to ban him. As much as I like to ban Hilda first, I'm going to need to ban this guy. I do have SP Narm in my box, which can help deal with him, but with how much mobility he has, it's just safer to go ahead and just get rid of him. Anyway, now what's weird about his banner is, of course, he's just by himself. That being said, he's still only a 40% receive rate, but I believe if you don't get him, you get shards that you can eventually trade in for him. So there's kind of a hard cap on as far as how many summons it takes to get him. More than likely, you'll probably get him before the hard cap in most cases, because honestly, the rate's not that bad. It's 40%, just like any other banner. Anyway, with that, let's go ahead and go to the banner that actually matters to me. We have Werner and Mary Andel. Obviously, anyone that's familiar with the game knows that there's another character named Werner. He's been The other character that's named Werner has been renamed Werner Dime. So the guy that has like the weird tech motorcycle thing, mount thing, that's the other Werner. Any case, Werner, the actual Werner here, is essentially an assassin that's super annoying. He has a mechanic that's really kind of bullshit, where he can pick a stance, and his stance will either give him extra counterattack range with extra counterattack damage, or it'll set him up so he can make his next attack bypass guard. The reason why it's bullshit is because the icon that shows his buff and you mouse over it gives you no information about which stance he actually goes into, and that's a complaint I've had. Me and a number of players have had about some PvP is the lack of information, like not knowing what immunities people have and things like that. And Werner is kind of just another step towards that, which is just really annoying. That being said, compared to other assassins, he's not super mobile, though he does get +1 move with his stances. But he can be pretty dangerous because if he happens to be in his defensive stance when you try to rush him, he could be a problem. Also, he has access to the new spear troops, which can of course counterattack Cav pretty effectively. So it's a bit rough. Also, the new spear troops also give additional counterattack damage as well. So he's very dangerous if you can't predict what his stances are. And since his defensive stance gives him the ability to counterattack any range, the usual just staying back and killing him from outside the usual range is sometimes not really an option, which is pretty rough. Mariandel, her thing is essentially, I think the best description was what Langrisser gave, which was essentially it's a mixture of Rachel and Lambda. Mariandel is actually Lambda, it's future Lambda, but essentially she's got extended span with her AoE, and she has the ability to kind of passively heal while doing her AoEs based off stacks she collects. Very interesting. I did see her in a few matches. She didn't really break the mold compared to Werner, but she wasn't really terrible either. So I do intend on picking her up. Also, unlike Lambda, she is Princess faction, so she's at least somewhat usable if I do try to use her. Essentially, what makes her decent is the fact that she can say caster she's a caster and a healer that essentially can do one or the other. Like I said, having healers that can do something extra is always helpful. Same thing for casters that are able to do something else. It gives a bit more flexibility in the box and all that junk. Anyway, so before we start, let's do a friendship summon, because I forgot to do it today. There's also the Farmville stuff, which I'm not going to go into. There's plenty of videos that do. But that's, like I said, this content's jam-packed. There's also all the story stuff, and I'm pretty sure there's probably, I don't know if there's new time rifts or not, but I haven't done the recent ones, so there's plenty to do. Anyway, let me see if I can find my notes. I did pull on a recent banner for what's his name, King of the Crimson Moon or something, whatever his name was. I pretty much grabbed him just simply because I didn't have him, and he was on a focus banner, and that was the only reason I grabbed him, just in case I ever need him for bonds. Anyway, let's dive into this. So right now I should have 0 towards pity. I do need both these characters. Werner is needed for a bond for Mariandel. Mariandel, of course, has her awakenings, and then other awakenings we need to do this month is Liana. What was it? Liana, Tiaris. What's her name? The free SR character you can get. Oh, we got it within 30. That's not bad. And there's one other I cannot remember which character it was. I was about to click skip. Awesome. So one thing you can do with the focus banner, or not the focus, the build a banner, what it lets you. Man, you're talking a lot. All right, so the banner, the build a banner. What it can do, what it does is you can set 2 characters within a certain time frame of the entire series, and essentially it becomes your own little banner that you can summon on. Things you can do with it though is you can actually put characters that you already have at 6 stars and use it as an opportunity to collect shards, which you can use to, or the I can't remember what they're called, but essentially the thing you can use to trade in shards for other characters. So if you can use that to collect a few of those ahead of time for future banners, which can be pretty helpful. Anyway, Mariandel, envoy of nature, heeds the voices of all things, a gentle guardian. Alright, so we do still need to get Werner, or Werner, so we'll keep summoning. But getting Mariandel right off the bat is nice. If we happen to get duplicates of Mariandel, that's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Sorry about that, getting a little distracted. I have my phone open and I'm trying to take care of my stuff for Alchemy Stars. So, dealing with that in the moment. So I think we're up to 40 right now. Alright, 50. Okay, got auto battle going. Alright. Yeah, fortunately when I was summoning for King of the Crimson Moon or whatever, I did go to Pity, which was a bit annoying. But I now don't need to worry about him. Alright, gonna be going into crystals, which is fine. SP Lana, I believe, is coming out next week. But I think you have to use, like, you have to go through that little crystal thing to actually get her crystal. Otherwise, you have to wait a month. SP Lana is not too bad. She becomes holy, which could be pretty beneficial. And then she has a lot of cooldown, fancy things. Overall, it's an upgrade for her. I did see her in a few Chinese matches, but she didn't really get very far, unfortunately, in most of her matches. But for PvE, it'll definitely be useful. So I definitely want to get her if I can. Alright, so we did hit Pity here, which is unfortunate. So we'll see what we get. Mariandel? Okay. So she's now 4 stars. Alright, keep summoning. I mean, I definitely prefer it being this, where I get Mariandel first, and then I'm just trying to get Werner. Now, obviously, with everything being pushed forward a month, essentially, people are a little uncertain if we're going to be able to actually predict banners as well in the future. Also, some people may be a little less happy about this being pushed forward because people are planning on using the Dead Month to save up for Wetham. Which, unfortunately, since it's now this month, they can't. I mean, I was planning on using this month to save as well for Mary Andel, but obviously that didn't happen. The only thing that annoys me is the fact I'm gonna have to now ban him, use my first ban on him on all my Apex matches from now on, because I don't want to deal with him. I think that was within 50. It was either 40 or 50. Okay, another Mary Andel. I guess she knows that I wasn't planning on using her. Which is fine. I mean, the more of these I get, the faster I get her to 6 stars, and then I can focus on other characters. I'm almost to the point where I have everyone 6 stars, which will be nice. Because at that point, I kind of have... What I'll probably do once I get to that point is at least all female characters all at 6 stars. Once that happens, I can start working on male... I'll start working on male characters just to get the rewards. I did that on a few characters already back in the day. Back when I was less smart and wasn't grinding shards like I should have been. I think we're at 50 again. Kind of distracted, so I'm not counting as well. I'm also rather tired. Alright. Still nothing. This is actually a little scary. Because I don't want to... I'm not going to convert for Werner, that's for sure. Rather just get the dupes at this point. But I do need him for a bond, so... I'm not planning on dumping this much on this, but... I mean, the next banner is the next healer character, I think. Okay, I think that was 70 or 80. So, still below average, but it's not as bad. Uh-huh. There we go. Alright, so that was 100, 200, 250 summons. That got us 4 SSRs, 3 Mary Andels and 1 Werner. So not the best average. Yeah, it's a little below average, but it's not too bad. Like that. Okay, now it's average. Now, Naomi is already 6 stars, so it's not helpful. Turn of the Legendary Blade, the heroes who survived the Great War still roam this land. Good for him. Alright, well that ate up most of my resources, but at least we're done. Alright, let's just dive right into this. just for the sake of this. Quick level up. So I max them out just so I can use them in the guild battle stuff. Makes the sweeps go faster. Alright, 4-star Mariandel, not too bad. Needs another 200 stars to get to, or 200 shards to get to 6 stars. So gain 1 mana energy for each unit within, well, in this case, 3 blocks range, aside from the caster, that uses an active skill. So essentially any skill like heal or strengthen, etc. Mana energy and skill damage increased by 3%. Stacks up to 4 times. Cannot be dispelled. Ignores immunity. When the caster has mana energy, if they have used an active skill this turn, all stacks of mana energy are consumed after taking action, and all friendly units within 3 blocks are healed for 2 times the caster's end. So essentially she can nuke while doing stuff. Soldier-wise, she does have access to sorceresses. And give me 1 moment. Okay, got her maxed out as much as I can at the moment. Her gear isn't too special. Just kind of went with Red Moon because it can work with both single target and AoE. Mary Andel's mostly AoE, but she does have some single target, including a unique one. She has one that doesn't have any advantages over any class type, but if it gives Thorny Touch, which makes it so if the unit takes an action while in forest or grasslands, they take additional fixed damage. And its duration actually increases based off the amount of mana energy you have. So a lot of her unique spells actually are influenced by how much mana energy she collected ahead of time, which is kind of interesting. Rocky Restraint is a single target quote-unquote AoE spell, which has the ability to immobilize and disable guard, which is pretty unique. The effect can't be dispelled if it was cast on somebody that's in mountains or ramparts, which is strange. And when you do this attack, it will convert buffs into debuffs based off how much mana energy you have, up to 3. Gift of the Wind is her actual single target heal, which does have a 1-turn cooldown. It does 5 times int, which is pretty good. It also applies 2 random immunities, and then it will dispel a debuff and apply a buff instead for every 1 energy, which is pretty neat. Besides that, she kind of has her a mixture of some breath AoEs, some single target, nothing much in the form of passives, unfortunately. She does also have this AoE as well that's not a line-based one. Hits within 4 blocks. It will dispel 2 buffs if the enemy is in water, which is great if you're going up against a juggler, I guess. At the same time, it will restore HP to half intelligence and dispels 1 debuff to all allies in the area for every 1 stack of mana energy. So again, another one of those AoEs that does healing and attacking at the same time. So pretty cool stuff, and this is on top of her mana rhythm, which can also give additional healing and good stuff like that. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and call it a video here. Like I mentioned before, there are 4 awakenings I need to do. Nope, wait, sorry, 5 awakenings I need to do. So I will do those on the next video. So I'm The Depressed Eater, this was Langrisser Mobile, and I'll see you guys next time.